What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Senator of Chaos and Controversy, and I'm doing this video because I had a person take the liberty of looking into my channel, going down the rabbit hole of the content and the videos of what I already got on display, and one of the questions that they hit me with was, how come you don't have any videos with any content in referencing George Floyd? So this is what prompted me to do this video. And this video is answering that very question. Now, this isn't downplaying or taking away anything from what happened to George Floyd, because it was a tragedy and there's many skepticism behind it, many controversial point of views aimed and directed towards the whole George Floyd incident. And I'm not going to get into all that. I'm just going to say, on the surface of things, it was a tragedy. It shouldn't have happened. And those that were involved, that were held accountable, I agree that there should have been consequences to a person's actions based on negligence. And yes, it's long overdue for police to be held accountable for their actions. Now, do I think he was the person to hold up in high esteem and made to be the person to be idolized? No. Do I feel that there was someone other than him that should have been? Yes. Who? Philando Castile. I feel, based on the nature and the circumstances surrounding his death, that he was more of a person to be idolized and held up as an example as to why police reform should be put into place, why there should be things put into place for us within the black community when there's interaction with law enforcement, to where we are able to have due process and not be executed at the scene that is called the question, or have questionable things to be analyzed, broke down to, be critical of how law enforcement handled the situation. Looking at that video upon reviewing it before doing this video, it just was disturbing to watch a man get executed in front of his family. I mean, yes, that was his girlfriend. His daughter was in the back, but that was uncalled for. People talk about, oh, if you comply with the police, you wouldn't have to deal with the outcome of the situation, especially with it costing one's life. Again, there's a reason why we have a court system. I can't co-sign off of or jump aboard with all these statements being made with how if a cop gives you a command, you should obey it, this, that, and everything else, when upon doing so, it doesn't matter because the ending result is still the same. The cop initially asked for Philando Castile's identification, which he had no problem with doing, in comparison to other videos that do, where you see officers are given a hard time for, requesting identification, and people telling them no. And that's looking at it from both the black and white perspective, because I see countless videos where white people be telling cops, fuck you. What crime have I committed? What law have you suspect me of violating? This, that, and everything else. And then after a while, the cops just get tired of it and just say, just go on about your business. But in comparison to when you see black people do it, it escalates. More often than none, to the end result being that a life is taken. Philando Castile, before presenting his identification, informed the cop, hey, I got a firearm. He didn't have to do that, but he felt logically and responsibly that that was the right thing to do, so that the cop wouldn't, jump to any conclusion or make the wrong assumption that his life would be in danger. It didn't matter, because that was the first thing that Don't go. And within a matter of seconds, he said, I'm not. He's like, I'm getting the identification that you asked me for to begin with. And that didn't matter. He still was executed. Girlfriend recording the situation, daughter in the back seat. The most disturbing thing to watch is a man's life just leave his body. The same as you saw with George Floyd. Well, not the same, because the knee was on his neck, bullets was put into the person. But everybody's all about the gun laws and how you have the right to protect yourself, this, that, and everything else. That's all fine and dandy until law enforcement intervenes and interacts with you and interrupts your life. And then their attitude is, I don't care. We're the only ones who are allowed to be equipped with firearms. As a citizen, what right do you have to have a firearm? Only we're allowed to have it. That's the mentality that's projected onto how I see the situations played out. But yet, when it comes to the example of the Uvalde situation, not only do you not show up late, but you're sitting there fighting with the parents who in Texas, they're more than likely armed and equipped with their own firearms, have the concealed carry, have the permits that allows them to have the right to bear arms. And then here's the argument. Oh, well, I think the teachers should be armed. Okay. If that's your assessment, if that's the conclusion you want to come to, since police can't be everywhere at once or won't get there in time to, how should I say, do their job, so to speak, which doesn't require them to save anybody's life because it's all about preserving their own. You don't have a right to fear for your life. Only they are entitled to have the right to fear for their life. Because how dare you be scared or have some kind of nerved up reaction and react in a certain way that causes them to react towards your actions. But if you react or act in a certain way towards their actions, you're in the wrong. I'm trying to understand a lot of this, as I'm talking about this situation. So, and I know you're going to say, Tony, it sounds like you're about to make this into a black and white issue. No, because I'll revisit this situation as well. John Hurley, considered to be a hero, simply because he disarmed a person who unfortunately shot and killed an officer and was planning on shooting and killing more officers until he was intercepted by John Hurley, who disarmed and neutralized him. But upon the responding officer who showed up and couldn't decipher who was friend or foe, who was a friendly, who was a non-friendly, and ended up killing John Hurley. So sometimes when other people are quick to defend law enforcement, even when they are in the wrong, sometimes you have to put your own personal feelings aside and just look at the situation as it being what's right is right and what's wrong is being wrong, despite what you may favor. Because that's like me being a person of color, looking at those in the black community, knowing damn well there are some elements within the black community who do wrong, but me condoning their actions just because they're black. And making every excuses for their fucked up behavior just because they're black. Can't see no wrong with what they're doing just because they're black. Even I know better to call out the wrong and the fuckery of people within my own community. So I find it difficult or hard to understand, even though there are people who are pro-police, how come you can't do the same when it comes to law enforcement when they are known to do some fucked up shit, despite the color of the citizen? Circling back to the point of this video, no, I don't believe that George Floyd should have been celebrated and held up as some kind of idol to promote the movement in reference to the whole Black Lives Matter movement, or what have you, to show that there's a need for police reform and some action is needed to correct the wrongdoings and the wrongs within the police departments. And especially in certain demographics where you know that there is a lot of prejudices coming from police when they go out in their active dutiness, and how they interact with those within certain communities with extreme prejudice. And when I say certain communities, it's not necessarily mean communities of marginalized, people or people of color. I'm talking about communities that are poor, despite what color you are. But in regards to the example that I believe that should have been promoted, so to speak, as the example as where things it has come to a point where there needs to be change, I believe the example should have started with Philando Castile. I feel that the amount of momentum that enrage and outrage and disgust towards uh, the thing that I don't get is that you held one officer accountable for kneeling on the man's neck, but then another officer was seen or got off for any wrongdoing when it came to Philando Castile. And then the court said that that the family or whatever could pursue a civil suit. It still is not bringing that person back. There's a child without their father. And again, when people want to sit there and make these smart remarks and rebuttals about, oh, the fatherless homes, well, look at the people that are responsible for making those fatherless homes exist. And I'm not saying it just falls just solely on the black community. It falls on the white community as well. Because when you look at Ryan Whitaker, he had just earlier that day left his daughter's graduation and was at home with his girlfriend. And the neighbors called the cops saying that there was a disturbance, and they ended up at his door knocking. And in light of all that was going on with the protests and everything else, and people's property and stuff, and people acting the ass and stuff, yeah, he came to the door with his firearm not drawn but down. And then when he seen it was law enforcement, he immediately was in the middle of complying and still got executed. And this was a white guy. So he as well was a father taken out of the equation. So where's the responsibility and accountability on behalf of the law enforcement when they are the ones that are taking fathers out of their home permanently? But no one wants to talk about that. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment in the comment section. Please share this video if you feel it's worthy of sharing. And until next time, you already know how I do. Peace.